Jenny had her first kiss. Jenny had her first kiss.
Yes, at the ripe age of
K-I-S-S-I-N-G.
22 and a half.
Amazing.
I mean, unless you count when I was like 6 and making out with.
I was going to say, I mean, technically, when you were prepubescent, you were making out with one of our neighbor boys on the couch. So is it really your first kiss? Does it count?
Well, I don't believe or condone in the institution of virginity or anything like that, so I don't super care. But yes, things have happened since we last talked, and it's been a while since you were on your trip. But so yeah, I think I just kind of told you the bare bones, but what kind of happened was Leah, who is my roommate, who I know from school and I lived with last semester and with 2 other girls, and now it's just me and her this semester, have been living in an apartment together for, let's see, we did February, March, so like a month and a half now. And yeah, on Friday we kissed, and we have subsequently kissed since then. And we I mean, I don't know, it's like it's either a very short or a very long story, because I don't really know if I can identify exactly when I was like, yeah. So I guess the long version is like she's a year below me in school, and so we met then, and we were in the same club, which is how we knew each other. So we were kind of friends for that year, didn't super know each other that well. And then that summer I did an internship program with her best friend Chuck. And so I would like text Leah occasionally about things regarding Chuck. And Chuck got a boyfriend in Argentina while we were there. And so Leah was texting me one time and she was like, "Can you tell Chuck's boyfriend this?" And I was like, I just sent her the boyfriend's number and was like, "You are Chuck's best friend and this is Chuck's boyfriend. Like, you two should just have each other's number and talk." And apparently that she took that as very rude, which maybe it could have been. I never admit to, I never claim to not be a terrible texter. So she apparently was like mad at me since that, which was like, sometime in the summer, so say July. And then that next semester I was in Barcelona, so I didn't see her. And so I came back in to campus in January 2020, rest in peace. And Chuck's boyfriend was coming to visit on campus. And so I flew in a couple days early, but Chuck didn't have any place for me to stay. There was no room in the inn, but Leah was already back on campus. So Chuck texted her and was like, "Hey, can Jen stay with you for like a couple days before, her dorm opens?" And she was like, "Sure, I guess," but apparently was not super enthusiastic because she does hold grudges. And so she was still a little ticked off about my rude texting over the summer. But so I went and I stayed with her, and like we had some like great conversations and we hung out and we had fun. And so then for the 2 months that we were on campus before we got Corona kicked out, we vibed and had a good time. So then I spend the rest of the spring semester and the summer at home. But over the summer, I decided that I did not want to live at home again. And I did not want to go back to campus and live off campus because, well, if I lived on campus, it would be lonely. And if I lived off campus, it would be expensive. So I invited 3 friends from that club to come live in my hometown in a different house. It was cheaper rent, but I was not living with my parents. So it was Leah and 2 other girls, and we all had our own rooms. It was a fun semester. We vibed, but Leah and I think, vibed. Like, I vibed with Leah more than like the other 2. So we spent a lot of time together. And so then when spring semester rolled around, the other 2 girls were like, "Yeah, we want to." Well, one girl was like, "I'm moving back to campus." And the other girl was like, "Well, I'm going to go back near campus, but I'm going to live off campus with another friend." So it was me and Leah. I was like, I could go live back on campus, but like the restrictions sound annoying and I could get kicked off again. And Leah was like, if I go back to campus, like how the housing rules work, we wouldn't be able to live together. So like, let's just get an apartment near campus. It'll be kind of expensive, but like, I don't want to live at home and, it's fine. So we got an apartment together and we got a 2-bedroom apartment because I guess I'm not quite sure why, because I think when we were moving into our house in the fall semester, she had said, she was like, oh, I definitely want my own room. And so I think that was the mentality I had. But Leah stayed over at our house over winter break, and we slept in my queen bed because we did not have any other, there was no room in the inn. There was no other space. So we'd already been sharing a bed for like 3 weeks while we were home over break. And so we moved into the apartment, and we were like, it's a 2-bedroom apartment, but it really makes sense to have 2 offices, not 2 bedrooms, since we have to do class. So we're like, okay, we'll just have 1 bedroom. And then we were like, we'll still order 2 beds though, so we can have, some separation, even though we had been sharing a bed at my house. So like, that really didn't make any sense. I said, sure, we'll do that. So we were doing that, but like, we would go to bed and then we would just like stay up for a whole other hour talking about stuff. And so one night I was like, Leah, like you, Liz, is much more high touch. She's an extrovert. So I was like, why don't we just like cuddle while we talk? Because I'm sure we both need more physical contact because it's the pandemonium. The panda. So one night I just like went over to her bed while we were talking. So we just cuddled. But then like when it was time to go to bed, I would go back to my bed. And then one night I was like, well, why do I have to cross these 2 feet back to my bed? Why don't we just put the beds together? So then we did that. So we would like cuddle, but then like we would kind of drift apart and like go to our sides of the 2 respective mattresses. And so we were doing that. And then, I really don't know when I can like say there was like a part of me that was like, yeah, I would definitely make out with Leah. But like we would be cuddling sometimes, and I would just get like, I don't know, I would just feel like these like buildups of like energy. And I was like, I wonder what these are. Like, these are interesting.
What is this? What are these feelings? Weird.
Yeah. So I was like, this is interesting. And then last week, I don't know what it was, but we'll drink on Friday as like our celebration of the end of the week. And because like we have literally no other fun activities we can do in our lives at these points. So before last Friday, we were both like, you know what, we've been drinking, but like, I don't know, I've only felt like mildly buzzed. Like, I don't think we've got drunk yet. And so we're like, we'll go kind of hard this time. And so we're like, okay, like not super hard. We're like, we'll try to like increase the gas a little bit. And so I think at that point, like, again, I can't tell you when exactly this happened, but I think at that point I was like, maybe if we get drunk, we might kiss. Who knows?
Like, wouldn't it be funny? Wouldn't that be so funny if we made out?
Because I think subconscious sober Jen knew that sober Jen would never make a move. So subconscious sober Jen was like, we need drunk Jen. Let's get drunk Jen in the picture. So it's Friday.
She's fun.
So it's Friday night. So we start drinking. We watch She's the Man, which kind of appropriate because it's about a cross-dressing woman. We watch that and we're drinking. We're drinking during it. And then after that point, I'm a little fuzzy because I got very drunk. Jen is also a lightweight. Jen is very much a lightweight. So I was fairly drunk at this point. And so I know it was my idea, but I cannot tell you why. But I put on The Little Mermaid. Again, I have no clue why. I was just like, I'm really craving this movie.
Is it because Kiss the Girl is a song in there? You wanna kiss the girl.
Wow, that would be really meta. I was not thinking that, but maybe that's what drunk Jen was thinking. I don't know.
Drunk Jen knew.
Drunk Jen knew. But so, yeah, no, now that I'm thinking about it, that's so weird because I never like rewatch movies, but I was like, I really want to watch The Little Mermaid. So I put on The Little Mermaid.
You wanna kiss the girl.
Apparently. And so and I don't even know how we got here, but we ended up lying down long ways, like on the couch watching the TV. And then I somehow like I was in the little spoon position, I guess. And then I just like turned and I was just like cuddling with her. And then our faces were just really close. And then it suddenly turned into kissing.
Oh no.
Oh no. And so we started kissing. And then Leah kept being like, are you really drunk, Jen? And I was like, no, even though I was. But she was like, is this okay? And I was like, yes, this is totally okay. So like, to her credit, she was very like conscious that like I was under the influence. So like, very good on her. But like, I also like was into it. So like, I was like, no, it's totally fine. So we kissed and then for a while. And then we stopped, and I also don't know, like, things are a little fuzzy around this time. So I don't remember, like, how or why. But then the next thing was that I was on the floor, kneeling on the floor, and I vomited on our table because I was very drunk. So I then vomited, but I was fine after that. Like, I think we just went a little too hard, but I felt fine after that. And then, yeah, we watched a couple more movies. She was not as drunk as I was, so she just kind of, like, watched me, and then we went to bed. But so then the next day, Chuck was over, and because he lives around the area. And so he was over, and we were doing stuff with, like, the club we were in. So we were kind of busy all day. And then, like, it came to nighttime, and we, like, got in bed, and I was like, so should we, like, talk about what happened? Because I wasn't sure that she, like, if she even thought I, like, remembered what happened. And she, being the avoidant type she was like, no, let's just not talk about it. I was like, no, this is not how we do things. we are not doing that tacky narrative of just pretending it never happened. So, I mean, just this whole process has, like, I don't know, it's just convinced me that we do not even live in, like, a culture of consent. Because, like, even though, like, I trust Leah and Leah trusts me, and, like, we both want what's best for each other, like, it still just feels unnatural and is so difficult to just, like, navigate consent and to, like, not pressure people in any way. Because, like, I don't know, I feel like our culture is such that, like, it's so normalized to, like...
I think part of that, too, is being a woman, we're socialized to be people pleasers. And so we're...
That too.
Like, there's a lot of just societal pressure on women not to say no. Like, it's very... When a woman says no, it's very jarring to a lot of people that are like, what? I didn't know you knew that word.
Yeah.
So I think coming at it from the female perspective, too, like, yeah, it's kind of tricky because, you know, you're... Especially with women, like, I've had the same thing with a lot of women where I'm like, do you really want to be with me, or are you just feeling pressured because I'm very forward? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, so I and this also kind of goes back to the ask culture, guest culture, but I was pretty much just like, I enjoyed what happened last night, and I know you seemed very concerned about my consent, which I appreciated, but I, I don't know how to get into the, like, if you're drunk, you can't give consent. But I was like, I had been kind of hoping this would happen. And, so, like, I enjoyed it happen. But if you didn't, then, like, A, I'm sorry. And B, like, if you don't want it to happen again, then, like, that's totally fine. And, like, that's totally an option. And so I told that to her. And then, like, in typical Leah fashion, she just kind of had to not say anything for like 20 minutes. And then afterwards she was like, the feelings you have are reciprocated. And I was like, oh, good. But also not to disparage all men, because not all men are bad. The social construct of masculinity is fairly toxic. But, like, the whole stereotype with, like, she had a very shitty ex-boyfriend, so, like, the bar is so low. The bar is so low.
I've been running into that with Rick a lot recently, where Rick will do just, like, basic nice things, and I'm like, wow, you're amazing. And then I catch myself and I'm like, no. If a woman did this, it would be expected. I'm only amazed because he's a man and he's doing it.
But it is just like all the lesbian comedians are just like, whenever you date a woman who's dated a man, like, the bar is so low. So it is just funny.
Wait, so
like,
are you dating? Is dating happening? I thought you had just kind of made out.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, it's just like in what we have done, like, that has come up. I mean, like, I have no clue what label I would give it, or if we want to label it, because that's what society wants, not what I want. So who needs labels?
That's fair. You don't have to label it.
So yeah, now Jen is navigating her own relationship. So
Lizzie is not the only one with experience. Woo!
Yay! I'm Jen.
I'm Liz.
And we're Harmless Harlots.
What does that mean?
To us, it means being open to having more than one relationship, however you define it, as long as everyone gives fully informed, enthusiastic consent.
It's also an homage to our Poly Bible, The Ethical Slut, which we recommend if you want to learn more.
We are enthusiasts, not experts, in this field, so if you want to learn and explore along with us, we give you our knowing, enthusiastic consent to come along. But it has also just brought into crystalline focus, and like I knew this before, but like the sex education in this country is atrocious. Completely atrocious. It's like I know nothing. I know absolutely nothing. And anything I do know is from erotica, not from like educational materials. Like it's from me like trying to find porn I like, and not from like someone teaching me or like a respected doctor or authority figure like telling me what to do. And like that's kind of fucked up. So yeah. I was looking up, speaking of my sex education, I was looking up a basic sex education, and I saw this one woman made a video, and she said a quote that I really like, that was like, it doesn't matter how many times you've had sex when you're with someone new, it's the first time. And I was like, I can get behind that, because like, I mean, yeah, like if you have to navigate consent, then like, sure, experience like helps. And like, you know, I'm obviously not speaking from an experience point, but like, I mean, every person you're with is different. So I mean, like, You're all virgins, all of you.
You're all
slutty virgins. You are slutty virgins.
Yeah, no. And I remember, I think similarly to you, like when I started having sex, the only script I was aware of was like the very heteronormative porn script of like, you kiss and then the guy touches your boobs and then you suck his dick and then you have penis and vagina sex, and that is how sex works. And like for a while, I mean, that's all I did. Like at the beginning of college, like that pretty much was the script I did. And it was kind of nice because it was like natural and we both knew what to do, and that was the clear like standard script. But it was also like kind of boring. And sex got a lot more interesting when I had more varied partners that were like, we can do different things. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess we can do different things. I hadn't thought about that. I just kind of thought this was the flow, and that's you step one, step two, and then you rinse and repeat. Like I didn't know there were other variations, but it's a lot more interesting when there are variations.
Yeah. So I guess that's my big news. How are you doing? Are you okay?
Yeah, Zach and I broke up. It's interesting because similarly on the labels note, we had never put a label on it. Like he was never my boyfriend, I was never his girlfriend, but we were, together for like a year and a half, and we just decided it was time to be done. We're very different people, and we knew that going in. Like I don't think either of us ever really expected it to last as long as it did. And this sounds terrible, but we both agreed on this, that it really only lasted as long as it did because of COVID, because he's very, very introverted and, was a very safe person to see during COVID because he wasn't seeing anybody else. And he lives a block away from me. So it was really, really convenient when we were all locked down to just have each other. So I think if not for COVID, we probably never would have been as serious as we got. But because of COVID, we were together for like a year and a half. So it was really, really sad when we broke up. I cried a lot. He's not really a crier, so he didn't cry, but I cried a lot. But yeah, we're just different people. We have different wants. We want different things for the future. It was just time. I don't think there's super hard feelings on either side. I'm not thrilled with him because I don't love the way he handled the breakup personally, and he knows that. He had also been kind of a dick in the weeks leading up to the breakup. We're on good terms now, and I think we'll remain friends. Because I mean, I've remained friends with most of the people that I've slept with. Like I am a very big advocate for like, just because you have had sex with someone doesn't mean that you either have to keep having sex with them or never talk to them again. And I know a lot of people are of that opinion, that like once you've had sex with someone, either you're still doing that or they don't exist. And it's like, that's stupid. Why? So I think Zach and I will remain friends. I still think he's a lovely human and we still connect on a lot of things. So I think, and his sister is still one of my best friends. So like we will absolutely remain in each other's lives. His sister got married last year and I flew out for the wedding. It was just like a very small 4-person thing. It was his sister, her now husband, me, and then a fourth person to be another witness. But they're going to do a real wedding next year. A real wedding. It was a real wedding, but they're going to throw a big party next year. And inevitably in that, I will be in the wedding party again. And Zach this time will also be in the wedding party since it's going to be a larger ordeal. So, Zach is by no means out of my life because I will at the very least have to see him at the big wedding party sometime this or next year. So I think we'll remain fine friends. We're not talking now because we both agreed that we needed some space to kind of heal. So we're not talking right now, but I think we will remain fine friends. I think it'll be similar to Sebastian, right? Where I'm really, really sad for a while and I cry a lot and, go through roller coasters of being like, I hate him, but I loved him, but I hate him, and all that fun emotional drama. But once I get through that, he has some time to get his thoughts together. I think we'll remain perfectly fine friends. Because Sebastian and I are great now. And like initially when Sebastian and I broke up, it was really hard. And I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to remain friends. But it's been a year and a half since Sebastian and I broke up, because after Sebastian and I broke up was right when I got with Zach. So when we're still very good friends now, Sebastian and I. So I think it'll work out fine and we'll remain friends. But it's going to be sad for a bit. Rick has been a really good support throughout the process because I've been really lonely and needy. I'm generally a very, very confident person, but I don't know what it is about breakups that just rattle me, but like it shakes me at my core every time. Like when Sebastian and I broke up, it was like a whole identity crisis where I was like, I am unlovable. No one is ever going to want to be with me. I am worthless. And like it's all totally illogical stuff, but like that's where my brain goes for some reason. So I've just been ridiculous for the last couple of weeks, and Rick's been really nice about it. Like I keep like apologizing to him and he's like, no, I think you're fine, and I'm like, I'm really not, but I appreciate you saying that. But he's been super sweet.
I don't know, talking about sex, it just reminded me, because I don't know if I've talked about this show particularly, but I do like watching, I don't know, Leah got me started on The Bachelor, and since then I have become a little obsessed with very, quote unquote trashy, but like, I don't know, like romance reality dating shows, because I think A, people are fascinating, and B, I think our fascination with people dating is fascinating. And so I don't know if I've talked about this show, but we started watching the second season of Are You the One, which is I'm not sure if it's still running because the shows we're watching are from like 2014, but it's like there's 10 men and 10 women and they're put on this island and they've done, testing, and like there's, 10 matches between the 10 and women, and they have to figure out who the matches are, and they get 10 chances to try to figure it out. And if they all figure it out,
I've seen this because it's kind of mathy. I remember somebody showed me this because they were like, there's an algorithm you can figure out to like make optimal guesses and figure out who might be together. And
that is exactly what Leah did. Leah also studies math, and when we started watching the show, she pulled out her iPad and started scribbling all of these.
I did too. No, when I first watched that show, I literally made an Excel spreadsheet with everybody's names and like X's, and I was like, okay, here's how we figure out like who we've eliminated, who like might be together, and like here are the optimal pairings that we should guess these to optimize our chances of winning. I would crush that show.
Yeah. But so we watched the first episode, and in the first episode, this one woman, Leah pointed out that I call everybody kid, and it's true. Even if you're not 30 years older than me, I'm probably going to call you a kid. So this one woman, Jess, on the first night slept with a guy, and the next morning she was like, oh, I made such a mistake, and like, oh, I can't believe I did this, and like, why did I do this? And like, I mean, I don't know how or why she was defining it as a mistake, but it's like, if you had consenting sex and like it was good, then like, is that a mistake? And like, I know there's this whole thing with like what you expect after, but I think that's kind of on you to like talk with and communicate with your partner kind of what that means to you. And if maybe this did happen, if she had like talked with the guy beforehand and been like, hey, if we do this, then I expect this from you, and then he had reneged on that, then like, sure, that sucks. But it's just like, I don't know, it was like, just having casual sex is not a mistake if it was consenting and you enjoyed it. And B, like, she was like, oh, I made a mistake. But then, like, everybody was like, oh, the guy, he hit it. And it's like, just the fucking double standards. Like, this is
So
nothing
much
new,
double
but it was
standards.
just so blatant. I was just like, meh.
That's really funny that you bring that up, because when Zach and I were breaking up, on like the last day of the breakup, he told me he was like kind of horny, and I was like, well, we could have sex, and he was like, we shouldn't though, we're breaking up. And I was like, I mean, breakup sex is a thing, like it's fine. And he was like, no, but we shouldn't. And I was like, why not? And he was like, because we shouldn't. And I was like, do you want to? And he was like, well, yeah. And I was like, well, I also kind of want to, so like, why shouldn't we? And he was like, it would be a mistake. And we went around like that for forever, and I don't understand it. But yeah, I don't like, if you both want to, and like fully informed enthusiastic consent is there, like I don't see why not.
It's hard because, like, I mean, maybe there's more research and I could just be more informed on this, but it's like, I don't know, oxytocin or whatnot, bonding chemicals. It's like, so I'm sure emotions are involved, but also, like, I think sex can just be sex. Like, I haven't fully gone into this, probably mostly because of quarantine, but like, kink and the polyam communities are pretty, like, close, and like, people will, and so it's like a lot of people, especially in polyamory, will have like dom sub relationships where it's like, my relationship with this person is like purely sexual. And I'm sure, not everyone is, and some may have emotional attachments, but it's like, if you're consenting adults, then like you can just have sex, and like it can just be a pleasurable thing, and like it's fine. It's fine. I don't know. But that also reminded me, I did a reading for my relationships class, and the title was, Will I Divorce or Have a Happy Marriage? And I was like, that's not a binary.
Not, literally is not.
So, that's how we started on that. But it had some interesting points, and it said, first, it said men tend to fall in love more quickly and are more open to romantic notions about love and relationship, whereas women appear to exhibit more caution. So I thought that was interesting and kind of counterintuitive. But they also said a woman's economic advantage and social status may be more closely tied to her selection of mate. Thus, it could be more beneficial for women to be cautious and selective when assessing her relationship prospects, whereas men can better afford to follow romantic impulses. So they're kind of going very standard narrative-y, like, men can just pick whoever, they like to have sex with the best, or whoever meets the low bar of, has sex with them.
I love all of these big fancy research studies that are like, we discovered social norms. How crazy. And it's like, yeah, bro, we've been here. This isn't news.
But I think, okay, so yeah, so women tend to think more critically and talk more about their relationships, report more problems in their relationships, and initiate breakups more often. So that was the part that I thought was really interesting. A, because I think in your experience it has, well, I guess in your recent experience it has not been that way, or I guess I don't know, it's been kind of
Well,
mutual.
in all of the lovers I've had, I've ended pretty much all of them. And in the one real relationship I had with Sebastian definitely initiated the breakup. Like, he for sure was the one who broke up with me. And then in this most recent thing with Zach, I would also say Zach is probably the one who initiated, but we both definitely agreed, and it was like a mutual split, but he definitely was the one who initiated the breakup. So I guess in my two like longest term semi-realist-ish relationships, I have not been the dumper. But in most of my other relationships, I don't, it's so weird with labels because I don't use labels like ever, so I don't even know
Yeah.
what to count and what not to count. But Sebastian was the first time I had ever been dumped, for sure. Like, in all of the other things I had had before Sebastian, I had always been the one who had initiated the ending, which I think was partly why it was so traumatic when Sebastian dumped me, because I was like, what? And that might be where my head's at now, just because Zach also kind of initiated this breakup, and I'm just reliving all of that Sebastian drama.
Yeah, yeah. But I thought it was just interesting because their kind of theory on that was like, women are like taught to like value their relationships more and put more of their self-worth into their relationships. So like, if a relationship isn't perfect, then like they feel they have to like get out.
Mm.
So I thought that was an
That's really
interesting.
interesting, because that kind of was Zach's perspective, that because it wasn't perfect, we should end it. And I was kind of like, why
Hmm.
would we? It still works for us. And he was like, well, I think it's going to end eventually. And I was like, yeah, you could be right. So then why don't we just wait for it to end eventually? And he was like, no, we
Yeah.
should end it now. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So
Well, my theory after reading that was kind of like, and I think this has kind of been my problem with just ever trying, the eternal debate is Jen a romantic goes on. But I think especially when I've like tried to like start romantic relationships with like men, it's been like I feel like I don't want to hurt them. Like I go into like overload people pleaser mode because it's like it's irrational because it's like if I'm not the person for them, like they should just move on and we should both save time. But like there's a part of me that is like, oh, but it would be so nice for them if like I was their perfect person. And like I feel like that's why I have been so aversive to like it's not inherently dating, but like when it's like you meet on a dating app or like someone asks you out, like the way Leah and I did it, I think is kind of my ideal thing where it's like the slow burn friendship thing. But like when it's like when I meet someone and like the initial thing is like in a romantic setting, I just go into this mode of like I like try to make myself like the perfect person for them. And so I think what this a possible explanation for like why women break relationships off more is because I think more women might like at the initial part, try to mold themselves to whatever man or person they are with at the time. But then like, once they get into it, they're like, I'm actually not really happy. And then they just have to go.
I want to be careful about generalizing for sure, because I don't think like all women necessarily do that, or even if most women do
Yeah.
that. I've definitely done it before with like various lovers where I don't know. I also in college I was very into theater, and I did think it was kind of fun to like. There's a Taylor Swift song about this where she's like, I can be, your perfect girl for the weekend or something, where she's like, I'll be whoever you want me to be. And like that's kind of what it was. Like what I would do in college a lot is I would like find the guy and just like whatever they wanted, I was like, yeah, I'll try this out. Like we'll see if I like this. And like I mean, it was for them a little bit, but it was also kind of for me to try on new things and like be like, do I enjoy this? Like, could I be happy doing this? And if I wasn't, I'd be like, yeah, nope, don't like it. Okay, bye.
Well, yeah, I'm not trying to say this is every woman's experience. I think I don't know, it resonates a lot with me, and I think it could be a possible explanation for, the partial explanation for the reason why women do tend to initiate breakups more. Oh, because of that, and this was a separate paper, but another paper found that kind of building off previous work that since women tend to, initiate breakups more, that actually like when you compare like and it's so weird and like this is the weird thing about like research with like relationships and gender and sexuality because it's like I don't believe in any of this shit, but like when you have to research it, it's like you have to put labels on things. But so in like same sex women, like lesbian relationships compared to heterosexual relationships compared to like male gay relationships, lesbian relationships will tend to break up more because like if women tend to initiate breakups more, when you put two of them together, it's like those couples will be more breakup, which like, I don't know. I feel, I don't know that matches like my anecdotal inner dialogue, but that's what this paper is claiming. So I thought that was interesting. Oh, they also had an interesting quote that in the 40% of male couples also had an agreement that sex outside of their relationship was acceptable under some circumstances. Because this is a broad generalization, but like I think somewhere in the Ethical Slut they talked about like if you go to a male like sex club or like club or something, like a gay club, like if men make eye contact, they're like, okay, let's go fuck. Whereas like if you go to like a lesbian equivalent of that, like women will like spend 2 hours talking each other up before maybe being like, oh, could I like have your number? And it's just hilarious. But it was interesting because they said 40% of gay relationships, male gay relationships, they had like essentially kind of like an open / swinging agreement that was like, yeah, sex outside the relationship is fine. The reason I thought of that is just it makes sense because men are horny.
I mean, so are women.
They are, but we are socialized to repress that, whereas
True
men
fact.
are not. So when you put a bunch of men together, it gets messy. Oh, another reading I did for a different psychology class was it was like something about like big gods, and it was essentially talking about like the rise of like large monotheistic and like religions that had like very powerful gods, and they said that that really only happened like kind of post-agricultural, when we like had these large scale societies, and it was kind of developed as like, kind of a bonding and a regulatory tool, because like when you're not living in a tribe of 150 and there's like anonymity, then like people will do shitty things because there's no reason not to. Big gods were kind of this big, powerful, almighty gods were kind of this way to keep people in line. Whereas like prior to that, like maybe, tribes and these groups had like spirituality, but it was kind of like benevolent and like don't really interact. And like, the moon spirit. So I thought that was really interesting, because what it made me think of is like when people say, oh, this is godless country. It's like, oh, if it's godless country, it probably means that we just don't need God because we're living in peaceful nomadic societies. So
doing all
there
right
you
with
go. I did a little bit of research on attachment styles, since it just seems to keep coming up.
Yeah, I'm really curious about the attachment styles thing, since you brought it up a few episodes ago, because that's something I've heard of tangentially, but I haven't studied a lot about it. I really like love languages. Like, I think that's a really important.
Oh, interesting.
With most of my partners, I've had the love language discussion pretty early on in the relationship, in part because I am very, very high touch. Like, I like physical contact. So, telling people early on my love language is physical touch is usually received better than like me just being like, touch me all the time. It's a less awkward way to put it. And I think it's important for other people too, so that I know how to, communicate my love to them. Because like, just because you love someone doesn't mean they feel loved by you. And like, knowing how to communicate your affection to someone is really important. Like, I remember when I met my friend that lives in Texas that we've talked about before, when I met her, she asked me within like the first week or so of our friendship, how did she phrase it? I think she asked me, how do you prefer to receive care, or something along those lines. And I was just like, what a thoughtful question. Like, that's a great thing to know about a person. Like, how do you prefer to receive care? Like, when you need like to be cared for, what do you want? Do you want food? Do you want snuggles? Do you want to travel? Like, what do you need? Like, that's a really good thing to ask somebody. And I think it's on the same vein as love languages, right? Like, to be cared for, do you need to be touched? Do you need to have presence? Do you need to have food? Like, what makes you feel valued and appreciated? So I really like the construct of love languages. I think there's probably more than 5. They have, the 5 broad ones. And there are a couple that I'm like, I don't know if that really counts. I think the most common ones I hear of are physical touch and words of affirmation and quality time. But there are 2 others that exist that I don't hear about as often. But yeah, I really like the separation of love languages. And I know attachment style theory is a similar thing to that. So I am kind of curious to learn about those.
Yeah, I suppose. I've never really gotten into the love language thing. I don't know. They don't super resonate with me for some reason, but I'll look into that and maybe we can talk about it more next time. Because, like, especially on like dating apps, people will say that a lot of times, and it's like, okay, sure, whatever. But like, I mean, no, I totally agree with like, you should communicate how you want to perceive. Definitely, people are not mind readers. And I don't know if I've said on this podcast, but I say the golden rule is for golden fools, because it says treat others as you want to be treated, but it should really say treat others as they want to be treated. Because, if I really love pomegranates, but that doesn't mean I should go around giving everybody I love pomegranates, because they might not like pomegranates. So, you should tell people what you want and ask people what they want. So I can agree with that. I'll look more into the love languages. But anyway, so attachment style. And I did just kind of cursory Googling, but I found a site and it says attachment is a special emotional relationship that involves an exchange of comfort, care, and pleasure. Our early attachment styles are established in childhood through the infant caregiver relationship. So there's this kind of debate as to what I've read of like, they say that like, the attachment style you form with your primary caregiver when you're little, like whether it's your parents or whoever you just spend the most time with, is like fairly influential in kind of the rest of your life. There's debate as to whether or not, like the relationship style you have with your caregiver is like the only one you can have with anything else, or if it's just an influence. So I'm not quite sure what the consensus is on that yet. But so the types that this site listed are secure, which means they have trusting, lasting relationships, which lasting might be a little mononormative, but anyway, tend to have good self-esteem, share feelings with partners and friends, and seek out social support. And it's kind of regarded that like secure is like quote unquote the best attachment style, like maybe one of the healthier ones, but that's not to like shame any of the other ones. Anyway, I'm not your therapist. But then there's also ambivalent, which are people who are reluctant to become close to others, worry that their partner does not love them, become very distraught when relationships end. And then there's avoidant, which is described as may have problems with intimacy, invest little emotion in social and romantic relationships, and unwilling or unable to share thoughts or feelings with others.
That sounds like okay, so the thing I like about love languages is there's not really a hierarchy. It's just like, here's just 5 different styles and no one is particularly better. That sounds like a pretty clear, like, you have healthy relationships or you're fucked up. Like, that sounds more hierarchical.
I think it is kind of trying to describe like ways to have healthy relationships, because usually when they like describe how you formed your relationship with your primary caretaker, it's like if your primary caretaker was like unresponsive or like unreliable, then like you probably think of other people as being unresponsive and unreliable and therefore do not trust them. Or if your parents were like really shitty to you, then you probably have low self-esteem. So I guess they're kind of similar in that they are categories related to relationships, but like I don't think I would draw a very direct parallel between the love languages and this. This is more like, it's a psychological concept, coming kind of from child development and then how that translates into adulthood. I don't know. I don't want to sound too judgy because like I'm not a therapist, but like it sounds like they are kind of saying like there are people who tend to be more like, they say themselves like secure in a relationship, whereas other people are, insecure or completely avoidant. So, so that's kind of the rough overlook of.
All right. Well, that's less helpful than I thought it was going to be.
It is. I think it's helped Leah and I because she definitely identifies as avoidant, and so by knowing that, I can be like it is harder. Like I'm very open and upfront, and like I want her to be that way for me, but it is just kind of hard for her, and so I try to be like understanding and like let her come to me when she's ready, and I will tell her, I don't know how much this is related to ask and guess culture, but like, I will be like, I am telling you this thing. I am not pressuring you. I am just telling you this thing. You can say no. And like, when you're ready to tell me how you feel, come and do that. So I think it can be helpful in that regard. I identify as secure and I enjoy being that way. And I don't think there's any reason that I would want to like try to be more like the other type. But like, if you're functioning in a relationship, then like, good for you. I don't know.
I don't know. I was hoping there were going to be like multiple different styles that all worked equally well and you could like pick which one worked for you. But it sounds like secure is pretty optimal and the other ones are like, yeah, if you've got issues, you might be these. Sorry.
Well, I guess, I don't know. I feel like you could be secure and still be like a shitty partner and still.
Of course.
And I feel like you could be like avoidant or ambivalent and still, like be respectful of your partner and therefore be a decent partner.
I guess I see your point of how it's helpful for you to know that Leah is avoidant so you can like account for that in your relationship. I do see how that's helpful, but
yeah, I don't know. I've never, and maybe it's because I am secure, but it's like I've never really resonated with these types so much and never really felt the need to like identify with them. But if knowing that about your partner helps you, then like power to you, fam.
Yeah, I feel like I would just try to avoid people who have the avoidant personality relationship style attachment because I don't think I would vibe with that. But I don't know.
I probably would have said the same thing, and yet here Leah and I are. Breaking down barriers, building bridges, complete back to the beginning of the podcast, but in my self-sex educating, I learned what a dental dam is.
Ah, yes.
I don't know how much you know about them, but I had no clue what they were or how they operated at all. And now I do. So
yeah, I've never used one, but I know they exist and I know how they are used.
Just for listeners who, like me, about 48 hours ago had no clue what they were, essentially it's like a square, like think of a napkin of like latex, and then you're just supposed to like hold the edges and like stretch it over the vulva and then like go to town
It's
through the
it's like the
latex.
equivalent of like a condom,
Yeah.
basically. So if
It's
you,
also called like an exterior condom, I think. Like they'll
yeah,
call like a penis condom like an interior condom versus like an exterior condom. And you can actually turn a condom into a dental dam by just cutting
you
off the
can.
tip
Yep,
and cutting off the side.
they
So,
taught us that in college
yeah. So if you want a little
because
more
dental
sex
dams are not common.
education, dental dams are not common. And they're also called the weirdest things because like they did come from dentistry, but we never thought to give them a better name than what they have because I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't typically use protection when performing or receiving oral sex. Like when I give blowjobs, I don't use condoms, and I see the equivalent of like a dental dam for performing oral sex on a woman as like using a condom when performing oral sex on a man, which like you could, and I mean definitely if like STIs are a concern or something, then like absolutely like yeah, you should do that. But I don't regularly do that. Maybe that's bad. I don't know.
The thing too, they also talked about, they were like, there's very little sex education about like queer relationships and like, how females transmit like STIs to each other because it's like it's not a zero chance. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
it's harder for women to transmit STIs, but it definitely happens. Men have, well, it's harder. I don't know if it's harder for women to transmit to other women, but it's definitely harder for women to transmit to men because men, oh, my doctor friend was telling me this the other day. Men have like a longer urethra than women, right? And something about that makes it harder for them to contract STIs from penetrative sex or
interesting.
something. I can't remember what he said. But yeah, more women get STIs and STDs than men because our machinery is more susceptible. If I was talking to my friend the other day about this, and I think I've said this a few times, but like I do identify with a lot of feminine things, and I enjoy being a woman. Not that being a woman needs to mean being feminine by any means, but if I could just like snap my fingers and have a dick, I absolutely would. Like I don't want one bad enough to go through all of the like surgery and time and money that it takes to get a penis, but like if I could just snap my fingers and have one, it'd be so much simpler. Oh my gosh, like you could pee standing up. Penetrative sex is designed to make you come. Like, it'd be so much simpler. I would love that and a beard. I would love if I could grow a beard. I think that'd be
Beards
super
are
cool. But again,
disgusting.
I love beards. I think they're great.
What?
I love
What?
beards. I wish I could have one, but again, I don't want to have to deal with all the hormones I would have to take to get one. But if I could just have a beard, I think it'd be fun.
This is a new thing I am learning about my sister. My sister's into beards. Have you ever dated
Have I
anyone with
never
a
told you?
beard?
Rick has a beard.
Bitch, I've never met him.
You've seen pictures.
Like
Also,
one.
Sebastian had a beard when I dated him.
I
You met
also like
Sebastian?
have met him once, and I was in Barcelona most of the time you were
Oh,
dating him.
they both have beards. I like beards a lot. I think so. Body hair increases sensitivity. This is part of like, so I don't shave my downstairs, and part of why is because like I can come so much faster when I have hair down there because like it's extra stimulation. Like it's just more feeling. Like when I do shave, I'm like, where's all the other stuff? Like there's nothing happening. Like I need more things. And similarly with like facial hair, like when I kiss people that don't have beards, it's like it's fine, but it's like, one thing. And when I kiss somebody with a beard, it's like a bunch of things, It's like it tickles. And I love my favorite thing is people with beards kissing my neck. Oh, it feels so good. It's like tickly and I love it. I love it.
I'm not shaming anyone who has a beard, but like I think there is research that like shows that like bacteria and like just like the grossness that gets trapped in beards is like nasty, is all I'm
Jen,
saying.
you're talking to me. I am the messiest bitch alive.
Yes, but like if you're not constantly like cleaning a beard, like it just traps all this shit in it. And like if you're not washing it like constantly, then it just
Okay, I
ew.
should clarify when I say beard, they don't have like long beards. They're not like, big down to their chest beard. It's like facial hair. Like they have like probably like maximum 1 inch of hair on their face is what they have. So I'm not talking about like giant Santa Claus beards. Like I like a solid lumberjack scruff.
Oh, that is interesting.
I didn't know I never talked to you about that before.
I did not know you were into beards.
I rant about how much I love facial hair all the time.
Interesting. Oh, I called my lesbian mentor today, and she was quite proud and quite happy for me, and that I told her, yes, especially because she is living very far away from her girlfriend, and she's like, I don't get to do anything, and I'm like, I'm sorry, babe.
You should try this thing I've heard of called ethical non-monogamy.
I didn't mention it to her. I have not talked to her about my polyamory because when I was talking with Minnie, who was also in Barcelona with us, it just came up because she is also polyamorous apparently, but like I don't know how to just like bring it up to people who I'm like close with, which like it's weird because I have this podcast, but like I don't know, especially over the phone, it's just like a weird thing to do.
Coming out is weird. Labels are weird. I got myself a poly flag today. I'm very excited.
Hey.
I won a gift card. I typically try not to buy things off Amazon because fuck Jeff Bezos. But my company keeps doing things where the prize is an Amazon gift card, and I'm like, well, if I have free money on Amazon, I might as well use it because like Jeff Bezos already has that money, so I might as well get shit for it. So I won a $25 gift card, and I was like, I'll get some things, and one of the things I got was a polyamorous pride flag, and I'm excited about it.
There you go.
Thanks for listening. If you liked this episode, subscribe and leave us a review on your podcast app.
If you really like us, like us, send this episode to a friend, family member, partner, your boss, anyone else in your social circle, the people you want to convert to polyamory. Start a conversation.
Feel free to send us any comments or questions over social media.
So, thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.